Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. September is National Guide Dog Month, a time to celebrate the incredible partnership between humans and their canine companions, especially those who serve as our eyes, guides, and emotional anchors. Today, we're joined by Dr. Jeff Feinman, a veterinarian and holistic educator who has spent decades helping people truly listen to their pets. His BEAM approach focuses on behavior, energy, appetite, and mood helps pet owners understand that the animals are saying through their bodies and symptoms. In this conversation, we explore this same awareness can deepen the bond between people and their dogs, promote awareness, and even teach us something about ourselves. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Feimer.
Jeff, please.
What do you think makes the bond between humans and dogs, especially guide dogs, so special?
Well, that's a really good question. We'll answer it in two parts. I think that our bond with dogs in general is because we see, like we do with little babies, we see ourselves in them, and they're looking back at us with these adoring, unconditionally loving eyes that are non-judgmental, and that how we see and how we live with our animals. And with guide dogs, these are dogs that have gone through a special program. So they've been selected to really, really want to bond and be with and help people in a specific way. And they just love their work.
You've developed a holistic approach that focuses on listening to animals rather than controlling them. How did this philosophy evolve for you?
I guess I would have to say it evolved over decades by observation. I've been a veterinarian for 40 years. I've been a patient myself for 50 years. I think I know my approach evolved because I observed the effects of doing different things. I view my own body as a scientific experiment, see what works, try one thing, see if it works. And then I was able to apply that to my own animals and then my patients.
Wow. And what does listening to animals rather than controlling them look like in real life?
Give you an example from my walk today with Maya. We're going for a walk, a regular, what I call a therapeutic sniff walk. I didn't have my phone out. I wasn't listening to a podcast. I was just connecting with Maya, letting her stop and sniff what she wants. When she was interested in something, I was, checking it out myself. But when she was looking at birds, I was up looking at the birds, looking at the trees. And I was connecting with her on level. I mean, she just kept looking back at me to make sure that I was there with her. And that's just one example of how you can have a conscious walk with your dog. You can connect consciously with virtually any animal by knowing that that's the way that it's designed to be in life. Africa and connect with lions and animals that aren't domesticated, and still we are all part of the spectrum of life. So we connect with them by wanting to connect with them.
Can you explain the BEAM method?
Sure, BEAM, it's an acronym. It's like the balance beam that we walk on to keep our balance, or the beam of light that shines at the right way to go. In this case, the right path for wellness. BEAM is an acronym that stands for behavior, energy, appetite, and mood. Those are four, what I called it in science, biomarkers. So those are things that we can use to tell if our animals are feeling as good as they ordinarily feel. Normal energy, normal appetite.
Yeah.
Normal behavior, wanting to engage with you instead of going off to be on their own, indicating a lowering of the beam. But basically, it's a way of detecting if you have a guide dog, for example, there's sometimes a guide dog just doesn't want to do its job. And, that is a drop in beam, even if it's not reflected by blood work or diagnostic tests. That tells us that something's going on energetically that we need to address, and we can do that through the beam.
Oh, could you share a story where Beam helped uncover something deeper in a dog's health journey?
Sure. One great way to optimize beam is what I said before, and that is just get them outside, engaging and sniffing the air. But if you want to do it yourself, it starts perhaps with the happiness protocol. And the happiness protocol step 1 is identify.
Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
What your dog or cat or any animal likes to do the most. Some dogs, for example, I had a dog named Archie that his very favorite thing in the world was food. Any kind of food. He'd jump for joy for food when he knew he was getting food. By getting him to jump for joy and optimize his happiness internally every couple hours, his beam began rising, and that made him more resilient so that he was able to fight off Lyme and other infections. And that is the beauty of the beam, is that it applies not just behavior, but also to the physiology, liver tests, kidney tests, blood work that we do on animals to make sure they're in the prime optimum shape. And, all that's really doing is focusing on quality of life of the animal and the person, and focusing on the beam instead of worrying about their individual symptoms. Because unfortunately, the way that we usually go is they develop a symptom and we start to chase that, go down that rabbit hole where we're worried about what that symptom means. And the drugs that we use to oppose the life force that's manifesting that symptom, that makes things worse. I think I'll give you an example from this afternoon. My dog went out and she had some problems pooping and came back in a big red spot on her anus, and really was bothering her. She was scooting all along, licking her butt, running around. All we did was go on a sniff walk, and within a few minutes, she was fine. She was sniffing around. By the time she got back, it was totally healed.
Oh, that's a great example. Why is this shift from being scared of symptoms in pets, but embracing them as messages? Why is this shift so important?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that is actually, I wrote a book about this method that's coming out shortly. That one question might be the essence of the whole book. And that is what I call significance of symptoms. What do symptoms really mean? The answer is symptoms are almost always the indications that something is going on with the internal energy flow. And sometimes it will be early warning symptoms that tell you that the energy flow is off, yet that's not necessarily can be reflected by an examination or blood test or diagnostic test. And the way you know if you're helping or not is through the beam. Because as you optimize beam, the abnormal symptoms go away.
Well, I'm curious, how can pets parents move from fear to trust when something seems wrong with their pets?
That is a really hard question. It's a really important question. But, as a scientist, I've learned to trust the natural laws that govern life, physics, chemistry, biology. For example, I wake up in the morning, put my feet on the ground. I'm not worried that I'm going to go flying around the room because I trust the law of gravity. Well, I trust, and my clients and my students trust the law of rebalancing, that everything in nature, that animals, people, everything outside, it's working, it's doing its best to rebalance. And that all we can do is help it by supportive actions or get in the way with antis. And antis, unfortunately, is the way that we know how to do medicine. And that's why it's so important, wisdom, to move from the fear of symptoms, which automatically leads to the use of antis, move from that fear to embracing symptoms like a friend, or at least listening to them and accepting them and trusting natural laws of rebalancing.
Well, I'm curious, how does presence and mindfulness, show up in your work with animals?
Presence is the first of 3 P's that guide all of my work: presence, patience, and perseverance. So when you have patience, when you have presence, the example of that sniff walk earlier, when I was talking about going and being with my dog and looking at what she was looking at, trying to hear what she's hearing. What that allows us to do is view life from the dog's point of view, not from our point of view. We are focused on controlling things, whether it's our dog's behavior or a symptom or anything else. So, what I'm suggesting is use that pause that comes built in with presence. When we're present, we pause. I guess that's another P. I can add that P. So yeah, when we pause, we're able to respond instead of react. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, we're able to pause instead of react. Wow. You've been working with dogs, from service dogs to the regular dogs. Um, what have they taught you about presence and unconditional love?
Dogs, cats, and all animals live in a state of constant presence. So what they've taught me is everything. Everything I've heard, everything I've read comes from the animals, comes from the spirit world, comes from nature, comes from the way it is, really. The way it is what our animals are doing, as long as we allow our dogs to be a dog and the cat, animals to be animals. Guide dogs are so great at what they do, and we celebrate them so much because they love what they're doing. They love to help. And that's, when we get into that state with them, we just want to serve others the way our guide dogs are serving us.
Oh, yeah. If every listener could start one new habit today to better understand their dog's well-being, what would it be?
I think the biggest habit that everyone could do is start scoring the beam every day. The beam score goes from 1 to 10, where 10 is 100%. They're active, they're looking for food, they eat whatever you give them, a great beam. You write that down every day, and you may not notice a 9 one day or an 8 one day, but you will notice a trend: 10, 9, 8, 7. You'll know it's time to intervene, that maybe the new schedule, maybe the new food, maybe the new whatever is not the best thing for your animal's quality of life, because it almost always reflects on our quality of life. And again, an example from this afternoon was, after lying with me for 2 hours while I worked, Maya just got up and started bugging me and said, are we going to go out and run around and play? Did that, and I would not have otherwise gotten up, but that 5-minute micro engagement was all she needed. It was the 5 minutes of running around and exploring and sniffing.
Well, can you tell us about your Path to Pet Wellness?
Sure, thanks for asking. The Path to Pet Wellness is a book that is a distillation of everything that we spoke about, talks a little bit about my own journey, and how my own research, along with the scientific research, along with the observation of animals, how that allowed us to come up with Beam, how to optimize Beam, and how to be present with our animals to help their internal energy flow as smoothly as possible. Because when energy flows smoothly, life goes smoothly.
Where can listeners explore your symptoms checklist?
I will send you a link if you would like a direct link, or better yet, they can jump on the Path to Pet Wellness pre-order page and get the symptom checklist added to the Fireside Chat webinars. We've got one coming up this week and another one in a couple of weeks. And also have one on the pre-order. Just may not get the book until February when it's released around Valentine's Day, another great holiday that we didn't talk about. But they'll get the ebook version for free in the next couple of weeks, about mid-November.
And if listeners want to learn more about the work you do and also connect with you, where can they do that?
The best place is holisticactions.com. HOLISTICACTIONS.com. And I will give you that link, but it's basically the link before the word book/book is the book pre-order page. So holisticactions.com/book.
Well, I'll put the link in the description so that listeners can click and go there.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jeff. It's been quite enlightening chatting with you. And thank you for sharing the story with that of Maya.
Thank you. Maya's now staring at me, waiting to go up and have her meals.
Yeah, I see we'll be calling her name a lot. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life's special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.